Hello everyone, this is Chelsea. Welcome to today's video. I have some beautiful new products, some photos that I really want to scrapbook, and they are not necessarily the same theme, but I want to show you today how we can take a line that is destined to be like beautiful Christmas paper and turn it into some pages about a hike that we took with the creative design team when we were in Vancouver. So I still have so many pictures from that trip that I have not scrapbooked yet. So I decided to pull some of them. I'm going to end up using a Pocket Plus because there's so many pictures that I want to scrapbook. And then I thought this beautiful new paper called Seasons of Green and Gold from Stampin' Up. This is part of the new online exclusives that just launched. And I love these gorgeous patterns. Tons of gold foil. Subtle patterns, very like a blingy, beautiful patterns. I think will make beautiful Christmas projects, but also really nice everyday sort of projects. So I'm going to be using some of this paper for my hiking photos today. And one of the things I was really excited about with this collection is the sprigs and leaves and everything that are in here. You can cut them out with the coordinating dies. So you know I put my stamp and die sets together. They don't come this way, but I do put them in the stamp case with magnet. And these perfectly match the paper. I love that concept. I think it's going to make embellishing this page really easy. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the majority of my embellishments today. I'm going to get my Versamats out here and then we can get started. Now, when it comes to the actual design, you saw me share these last week. These are part of a workshop guide that I have available right now. And I thought, why not reuse the same design? And then I can show you some ideas for how to kind of rework any workshop guides that you have. So I'm going to start off with white cardstock bases as per usual. That is my go-to. I may change it, but for now, I'm going to start with white. Then I thought for hiking photos, I need to use wood grain paper. So I use the Country Woods wood grain paper from Stampin' Up! And I'm going to combine that with the pattern papers from the Green and Gold, the Seasons of Green and Gold. So I went for a more muted pattern, which you'll see is a little bit different from my inspiration. I had a busier pattern in these chunks, so that might switch up how I embellish. We'll see as we start layering. I'm just going to bring in my photos that I printed. I kept all the sizes the same as what I had in my inspiration. And I should mention, I originally got this idea of using the Seasons of Green and Gold for this type of pictures, these outdoor photos, from my friend Janice. She did a really beautiful 2-page spread with this collection, and I will link that down below for you if you'd like to go see her video as well. Now I need another piece that's going to go behind here and behind this photo, so I thought what I would go for is a little bit busier pattern from that Green and Gold collection. And this is going to tuck behind this one. So I always like to try and keep a balance between busier patterns, whether they're large scale icons or just a busier pattern that is tighter and has a lot of detail to it. Also, busy paper can be something that has high contrast in colors. So then I'm also going to take that same pattern and mat this photo. So we only have a little bit of it sticking out, and that's why I figured it being busier would be fine. The wood grain does read a little bit busier because it has quite a distinct texture, but I still think it makes a good background. Now on my original layout, I had a cardstock border, which really helped separate everything from the background. So I'm not too sure where to go. We have a lot of neutral colors in these photos. We have like a little bit of burgundy that Andrea's wearing. And then I didn't get the memo about subtle colors, so I'm wearing like bright teal colors. So if I go for like a bright teal color, I'm just gonna look through my cardstock swatches and see what matches. That capri matches pretty good. Let's see what else. This is why I like having my cardstock swatches like this so I can hold it up to my projects. This is Journey from Close to My Heart. That's a pretty close match. Let's see, do I have... I could also use Harbor. Harbor goes with everything. It's such a good color. I could always use Harbor and be happy. So I think Journey and Harbor are my two choices that I like the best. So I'm going to try it with Journey. I did cut this down, so hopefully I like it. This is just a little bit peeking out, and I will gut this before I stick it together because I don't have a ton of Journey and I don't want to waste everything that's in the background. Okay, and this one's a little bit harder to get under here properly, but we'll just sneak that under. I like that little punch of color, that little bit of blue. It definitely ties in with my sweater. And now the next step is really working on the embellishments. That is kind of the bare bones of the layout. I'm also thinking about maybe doing some distressing on my background, just because I think it might fit in a little bit better with the weathering of the wood if this isn't so bright and crisp. So that's something else to consider before I start sticking everything down. So I'm going to go ahead with this paper. There is also some vellum that is really beautiful, and it does the same thing. You can cut all the branches and everything out of the vellum. But I think for this one, I am going to stick with this paper, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut a bunch of these, and then we'll start making some embellishment clusters. Okay, change of plans. I decided that this white in the background is too bright and I want to add some stamping. So I pulled out some stamps from my stash. That first one is called A Journey. It's very old. This one is A Change of Scenery, which is less old, it's more recent. And then the most recent is this one, the Let's Go Anywhere card making workshop set. I love the compass die in this one, so I pulled out a few different things. We'll see what I end up using. I also pulled out this Greetings of the Season. This is from the online exclusives that just launched. And you notice that I have these stored separately. Usually I combine my sets, but I figured the tags I would end up using so much that I don't want to put it inside the stamp set. I'm just keeping it separate. And since we're not doing Christmas, we are just going to use the dies on this layout. So I grabbed my mocha ink from Close to My Heart, the boot prints, and this little dashed line. That one's from Change of Scenery, that little line. And what I'm going to do is second generation stamping. So I'm stamping off the mocha ink and then stamping onto my page. So I just have a little bit lighter brown. I could have used chocolate ink, but I don't have that one. So I'm just using the second generation mocha, and it's working really well to match the browns on my layout. And I debated whether I wanted to do like a full border around the whole outside of the page. But I think what I'm going to do is just stick to kind of the two corners and just add it as a detail to break up some of that white, but I don't want it to get too busy. I want some spots for my eyes to rest. Now, the reason I thought this would be a fun accent to the page is because the story that goes along with this is that we were wandering around in the woods. So we came to this park to see the waterfall. There's a suspension bridge, and we kind of thought we'd walk around a little bit. Well, when we got to the parking lot, we took a picture with the sign, and then we just kind of trooped off into the trees. And the funny thing is, once we got to the end, we realized that if we would have just gone to the left, the suspension bridge was like right there, like a 2-minute walk. I don't remember how long we were actually walking, but it was a while. So we were wandering around in the trees using Erin's like hiking app to find our way, and trying to use the map that was on the website. Yeah, we were slightly lost and just kind of stumbling around in the trees trying to find our way to the waterfall. And we did get there, and we had a lot of fun and took a ton of photos. So I figured all these boot prints and the little lines going every which way were really representative of us stumbling around in the trees trying to find our way out. And that's why it looks a little bit chaotic. I wanted to have the boot prints kind of going off in different directions and the lines going different directions. And you did see me do a little bit of masking because I wasn't thinking when I stamped the right page to make sure I was stamping onto the left page as well. So I had to scooch my pages together and just carry that stamping over a little bit. And I'm glad I did that because I do use post-bound albums and my pages do sit right next to each other. If you use like a D-ring album, don't even worry about it because you won't be able to tell there's a gap between them. But when I put mine into a full post-bound album, I can definitely tell if things aren't lined up. Now that I'm happier with my background, I'm going to go ahead and stick things down. Before I attach this side though, I want to just do like a dovetail on here, but I want it to be very shallow. So I made my snip in the middle very short, and then I'm going up from each corner to create this little flag shape, but I didn't want it to be super deep. Now I'm going to gut this paper, and I thought I would leave this part in for you. I only went into 1 inch, so I only have about a 1 inch margin, which is fine because there's very little amount of it showing. I was trying to preserve as much of this cardstock as I could, but I will say when I went to go stick my paper onto it, it was a bit of a challenge to get it even. I had a bit of a struggle. I did cut out that part because it was so frustrating. I'm bringing in some tags now, cut with that Greetings of the Season die, using more of the wood grain and more of the Seasons of Green and Gold. And then I cut my title on the Cricut with an offset of white, and then the letters are actually cut out of Journey. And I love how these went together. I just used one of my system fonts to do that. And now you can see me bringing in all that greenery that I die cut with the coordinating dies. It makes embellishing so incredibly easy. I will not get tired of like gushing about how much I love dies that match the pattern paper and cut them out. It just made putting this together so easy. Pretty much all my embellishments on this layout are all made with paper, which makes the layout like nice and flat. It's not super chunky or thick, taking up a lot of room, but it has a lot of texture. I have these different shaped tags. They all have like a piercing detail around the outside, which is really fun. And then the greenery has gold accents on it. So there's a lot of interest and dimension to the pieces, but they're all still flat because they're made out of paper. So I did decide to add a little bit of dimension to this layout by popping up my title. So my embellishments are flat, but my title is going to be on foam tape. And now I'm moving on to the right hand side. I have a piece of tag there. I was trying to preserve that wood grain paper. This white and like light brown wood grain is actually the backside of the dark wood that I used. I just about ruined my photo there because I dropped that adhesive side down, but it was okay. I was able to just rub it off and it was fine. But I'm just going to layer in a couple pieces of greenery here, just tucking them under the corner of my photo. And then here is something also from my workshop guide. So I showed this in last week's video, but included in the workshop guide, there is some printables. And you're probably going to see me use these for a few different layouts. These are just like little word strips or phrase strips. And I just hand cut them with my scissors. And then you can ink them, you can leave them plain, but it just gives a little bit more words where you would normally use stickers. And you can just cut them out, ink them up whatever color you want. You can print them on different colors. I did add Journey ink around this, but I don't really like it. So I will end up adding a different one over top to cover that Journey color. Now I'm going to use this Let's Go Anywhere set for a couple embellishments. I stamped this So Glad We Found Each Other. I thought it was kind of funny because we were together, but we were sort of lost. But I'm also so glad that I found these ladies and that we are such good friends and business partners. And I can't imagine doing this by myself. So I am also going to be putting together this compass. I cut the base out of chocolate cardstock, which is a really old, close to my heart color, but it matches the brown really well. And then I did the little face of the compass with that white wood grain. And then I did this middle part with Journey cardstock and then the textured gold specialty paper from Stampin' Up. And I'm trying to decide if I want to pop up that middle part or if I want everything flat or to pop the compass. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to pop dot. So I decided to pop dot this middle part and give it a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to create a little cluster over on the side of this photo just to have my third point of embellishment, but also I want some weight in that bottom corner. So I want this cluster to be a little bit bigger so it really draws your eye over to that side. And once I kind of get my greenery where I want it, I'm just going to start taping it down. I think it's really helpful that each one of these greenery sprigs are different shapes, so it really makes for an interesting cluster when you put them all together. And they layer up really nicely. I didn't have to spend a lot of time arranging and rearranging. It just worked really well. I forgot to stick down my tags, so I got to do that next. I wanted to have these tags just kind of as bases for my clustered areas, and that worked out really well also just to add a little bit more pattern. Now I decided to use some of the foam sheets from Stampin' Up. So long things like this don't sag. I definitely wanted to pop it up so it has solid foam all the way underneath so that it doesn't sag or kind of bend and get all wobbly. Now I'm using my favorite linen thread, and I could really use like a 100-yard spool of this stuff. I just love it so much. Just tying a little knot, a loop with a little knot through there, and then I'm going to stick this down flat. Now, of course, since I broke out the linen thread, I can't just leave it at that. I can't just put it in one spot. I got to put it in other spots. Plus, I have all these naked tags. Every time I have tags on pages, I always think of Erin and Katie telling me that I need to have something in those holes. So we are going to do a combination of just looping it through like you would for a tag through the hole, or tying some bows, because I like both of those things. And I really like using this thread with 2 or 3 layers to make some really fluffy little bows. I'd kind of hacked that thread and it looks rough, so I reached over and grabbed my actual ribbon scissors, and that's what I'm using to cut this. The only way I was able to stop using my ribbon scissors for paper things was to get a totally different brand of scissors that look completely different, so that I remember those are my ribbon scissors. So I have 2 pieces, probably about 6 inches long, and I'm just tying it in a simple bow and then fussing with those ends, pulling back and forth until I get it looking cute and all sitting the right way so it will sit flat onto my page. I really think the trick to bows is practicing, but also the adjusting part at the end. You can always make a rough looking bow look better just by playing with it and pulling on the ends. Since I had a little bit longer story for this, I decided to print it out on my computer, and then I used that same die to die cut it out so it matches the other shapes that are on the page and has that nice piercing detail. And then I added some more of the linen thread through the hole, and I'm going to add a few more pieces of greenery right here just to help give it some weight as a little bit of a cluster there. These are my finished pages. I hope you love how they turned out. I'm super happy with them. And if you're ready to watch another process video, go ahead and check this one out. And I will see you next time. Bye.